Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee. I talk about books on this channel, mainly books about magic, and if you want to see more of that, you can hit the subscribe button down below. And today we are going to decide what series I am taking into 2025. Hello everybody, so we are going to film this video today. Full disclosure, it is currently November 18th and we are filming this today. But I have been wanting to film this video for like weeks now, and I just can't wait any longer. I'm too excited to go through and make decisions and, get caught up on what I want to take into 2025, even though this video is probably going to go up in December because, it's end of year content, but I want to film it today. So we're going to do it. So I have a spreadsheet that I have pulled out of my yearly reading spreadsheet where I have listed all of the series that I am currently reading. And I did a video earlier this year, and this is a bit more thorough than that video was because I have 102 listed here, which is too many for me personally. So we're going to go through and we're going to put some of these to the chopping block. We're gonna cut some of these and say that they are not coming into 2025 with me. Not to say that they shouldn't for you, but just for me currently, I have a lot of series that I have read the first book or that I haven't read in a while that I think it's time to just say, you know what, I don't have to take up brain space for this. We're gonna move on. So let's start. And these are all ones that I am currently in progress or caught up on. Either I am waiting on the author for some reason or another, or like the next book isn't released yet, or they're in progress and I haven't caught up and read the books that are out. So these are in alphabetical order by author right now. At the end, I do have some at the bottom that I have added on in the last couple of months that are not, but we're gonna jump into it. So the first one on this list is the Written in the Stars trilogy by Alexandria Bellafleur. I read the first book, Written in the Stars, earlier this year, and I think I gave it a 3-star. It wasn't my favorite in the series. I think I'm going to give this one more book to see if I enjoy it or not, because I did love 2 other works by Bellafleur before. So this was her debut. It was a little rough around the edges. I want to give her another chance in this series before I completely give up on it and DNF the series. But then after that, we might just keep moving on to her more recent works because sometimes when you read an author's backlist, sometimes you encounter things that you're just like, nah, this isn't for me. But I think this is going to stay in progress for now. Next is the A Lady for a Duke series by Alexis Hall. Technically on platforms, this has a sequel in the works. I haven't seen any evidence of that or anything coming for it, so I think this might be a companion novel at some point. So I am caught up and I'm waiting on the author, so I'm not DNFing this. This is kind of a limbo status for this series. Then we have Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I think I am caught up as far as the I'm pointing back here because they're back here, but I think I am caught up as far as the current published works. I'm not caught up on Webtoon or online where Alice Oseman posts the webcomic. So I am just waiting on, the next publication of Bound Up graphic novel to continue. However, I did not watch season 3 yet. So personally, I need to do that. But that's not part of this book list, but I do need to do that. Next, we have the Bainbridge Mystery series by Alison Montclair. This is both in progress for me. I've read the first 2 volumes and I believe the author is still publishing. So this was part of the St. Martin's boycott earlier this year that I read 1 volume this year before I realized it was one of the sub-pubs, and I didn't talk about it online at all, but I kind of got discouraged from continuing on because I couldn't read any further without talking about the books. So I think this is another one. I should make a list as we're going. I think this is another one that I'm gonna take into 2025, but this is its last chance to be continued, that if I don't read it next year, we're gonna mark it as DNF. So I'm gonna have to keep track of a lot of lists this year because I already have so many things I want to do for the end of next year. Will I remember? I don't know. I'm making a list, but I'm also going to make these a different color in my spreadsheet as we go. Let's see. We're going to make them yellow because they're like in warning. Next up is the Brightfall series by Ashley Herring Blake. This is someone that is sort of in limbo too. We're gonna put this on the, you know, try it next year or it goes list, because I read the first one this year and I liked it okay. It was a 3-star for me. But if I don't continue it next year, or if I continue it and I still kind of feel the same, I might not read the final book. We'll see. I hit a very middle of the road stance on that series, and even though Astrid is the one we follow in the next book, and I really loved Astrid in the first book, I know, strange thing to say, she just really resonated with me, I'm not sure about this one. Then we have Monk and Robot by Becky Chambers, which I really just have to read the second Monk and Robot book. I reread the first book this year, and I believe it's just a duology of novellas, so maybe I'll try to squeak that in this year before we finish out, because I really want to continue this series. It's so cozy and wonderful. Now I'm talking myself into reading it like right now. Then we have the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. We're doing this as a check-in, and next year we have to finish the Wayfarer series. I've read the first 2 books and loved them. I need to read the second 2 books and just finish off the series at this point, because it has been sitting on my shelves for years, just unfinished, and I feel like I'm slowly losing like my connection to that feeling of loving the series. So next up is Saga by Brian K. Vaughan, and I'm gonna DNF this series. I haven't been keeping up on Saga for at least 4 or 5 years now, I think. I have the first 4 volumes on a shelf over there, and I did enjoy it, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as other people did, and I was having trouble keeping up with all the characters, and for me, it just wasn't for me, I guess. So this one is going to be a DNF, and I am not going to worry about continuing on with this. Next up, we have The Kensington Cycle by C.L. Polk. This is a trilogy that starts with The Witch Mark, and I absolutely loved the first installment in this series. I might need to reread it in order to go into the next one, so I think we're going to choose a color for priority for next year, and it's going to be aqua, because it jumps out really well with all the other colors on my spreadsheet, and I think that's going to be a priority. Then we're going to DNF the Mortal Instrument graphic novel series by Cassandra Clare. I never kept up with that series. Like, I have the first installment somewhere back here, but I just never ended up continuing to like pick up and keep up with it, and I'm not even sure if it's still going. Seducing the Sedgwicks by Kat Sebastian. This is one that I'm gonna make yellow, that if I don't continue it next year, I'm gonna DNF it, because as much as I think the first book I give a 3.5, so it's just on the cusp of like continuing or not continuing, and I think this one will be a good series to continue, but I'm not sure I'm gonna like it that much. So we're gonna see. Then we have Elemental Love by Celestine Martin, which is gonna be blue as a priority for next year. I wanted to read the second book, and I got an arc of the third book in October of this year. I really wanted to continue that because Witchful Thinking was such a fun little read, but I felt like I had to reread the first book, and I wanted to kind of like do it all together. So we'll do that next year. Then we have The Bergman Brothers by Chloe Leese. This is one that I haven't been in the mood for lately, but I really, really enjoyed the first book, and I like Chloe's books overall. So I'm not going to DNF it, but it's also not like a priority for next year. I feel like those are just going to be ones that kind of eventually get read. Then we have Magic of the Lost by C.L. Clark. This is going to be aqua as well, because I really want to reread The Unbroken by C.L. Clark, which if I tried to jump into the second book right now, I wouldn't have any idea what was going on. I read that book probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point. Definitely one that I need to go back and reread. Then we have the Mr. Darcy and Miss Tilney mysteries by Claudia Gray. I get to mark that from in progress to caught up, because I have recently finished that book. So the red dot of like, I have a red square on these if I have one book left to read, and that one I get to take the red square off on. I'm all caught up. The Brother Sinister series by Courtney Milan. What is that? Some of these I'm like, if I know the first book name, I would do better than if I know the title of the series. Okay, that's The Duchess War by Courtney Milan. I remember, I don't have a Of course I don't. I read it in 2020 and I don't have a star rating on the first book, so I am going to DNF that series because obviously I haven't made it a priority. I read the first book in a romance series and I don't continue on immediately. It's not going to happen. Then we have the Worth saga. I don't remember reading that. That's 2018. I don't remember that. That's a DNF as well. Sorry, Courtney. We have The Alchemy of Masks and Mirrors by Curtis Craddock. Now, I had somewhat recently, said that this was a DNF. I think I unhauled both books, but then I found out that the audiobooks are on Hoopla. And so I'm going to leave this as in progress. It's a completed series. It's one that I think I would like to go back and reread the first book and see if I enjoy the audiobook. And if I do, I might try to finish the series because it was a really interesting world. It reminds me a lot of this book, actually, the Winter's Promise series by Christelle DeBose, with like the concept of the world and the politics and how political it was. So I think I would like to go back and try it again. So we're going to leave it as in progress. Then we have Saga of the Unfated by Danielle L. Jensen. The first book is A Fate Inked in Blood, and I loved this book this year. It's staying on. I am caught up and waiting on, the next book in the series. Then we have the Veronica Speedwell mystery series by Deanna Raybourn. This is one that I am gonna make yellow because if I don't make progress in this next year, I think I'm gonna DNF it because I read like one book a year and I liked the first book, I liked the second book, but it hasn't like wowed me yet. So I'd like to get a little deeper into the series and see if it's one that I am gonna like get endeared to or if it's just gonna stay okay. Then we have the Blood Right trilogy by Emily Strutsky, and I am torn about this series because I wanted to love this series so much. I wanted to love it. I loved Emily Strutsky's first book and I have wanted to like fall in love with her writing all the time. Like her concepts sound so good. However, I figured out this book and the plot twist way too early, and it really made me upset. And I've never continued on, and a friend of mine that I heard review the trilogy was like it was just okay. So I think this is going to be a DNF. I don't think we're going to continue on, unfortunately. Then we have A League of Extraordinary Women by Evie Dunmore, which I don't know what this is. Oh. Ooh, that's a cool new cover for this series. I read this in 2020 as well, and I gave it 4 stars, but I never went back to it. I'm gonna make this yellow because I remember liking this series, but I have not gone back to it. So we might, and since it's a romance series that are probably companions, we might check this out and see what's going on. Ms. Marvel by G. Willow Wilson. I'm making this yellow. I want to go back to this next year and make more updates on that. Then we have 3 series by Gail Carrier, which are the Claw and Courtship novella series, the Delightfully Deadly novella series, and then the Supernatural Society series, which I think Supernatural Society just had a new book come out, or I'm not sure if that's the right series. I'm going to leave all of these as caught up and waiting on author. I'm not DNFing any of these. I don't even know if there's more coming in these series, but I have loved these, and I'm not gonna not continue. Then we have the Witch King series by H.E. Edgmond, and I want to make this a aqua because I only have one more book in that duology to read, and I want to read it next year. I actually don't have a red dot, and I need that for that one. So that's a priority for next year. Then we have the Sands of Aria series by Hafsa Fazell, and I think I'm gonna mark this as DNF. I liked the first book okay, but literally none of the details have stayed with me. I wanted to love this book so much, and I just ended up feeling very middle of the road about it. So I don't think this is gonna be one that I personally want to continue and finish the duology. I think I'll try her Tempests of Tea series and see if that appeals more, but this one just didn't work out as well as I wanted it to. Then we have the Fallen God series by Hannah Canner, Heart, and we're gonna finish that up next year because I'm gonna make it aqua just for funsies, because the final book comes out next year and I want to read it right away. Then we have Queen of Coins and Whispers by Helen Cochran. This, I have the sequel book on my TBR shelf over here. I do want to read it. I'm thinking that maybe I do need to reread the first book, but we'll see. That one's one that's just going to stay where it's at. It's not a priority, and it's also not one in danger of being DNF'd. The Ariella Rider series by Ilana Andrews, who knows what is going on with that, so I'm considering myself caught up and waiting on the author. Just like Romans Chronicles by Ilana Andrews, I am caught up and waiting on the author. Next year, I should write this down, my priority is to finish my reread of the Kate Daniels series and read the like subsequent Kate Daniels series that's going on, because I think there's 2 little novellas in that I haven't read yet. And if I read those, then I'm completely caught up on the Andrews backlist. Then we have Batman by James Tynion, and I think this is technically moved into new hands now. This is one that I have to get caught up on because I'm at least 3 volumes behind now, but I'm thinking about working on acquiring the volumes of this Batman series because I have enjoyed them very, very much, and I usually read a chunk of them and then I have to go back and reread a bunch before I can like jump into where we are. So I'm thinking about like slowly collecting these that I can keep going and keep rereading. That is to say, I want to work on it next year, but it's not a priority. Then we have the Aaron Falk series by Jane Harper. This is one I would like to continue next year, hopefully, but it's not in danger of DNFing, but it's also not a priority, just kind of staying where it's at. The Grave Huntress series by Janine Frost. I'm not sure about this one. I think I'll make it yellow because I read the first book and it was very like paranormal romancy in a fun way, but I also thought so much happened in that first book that I'm not sure if I'm gonna enjoy the next book. So we're gonna try it. We're gonna continue on. Southern Reach by Jeff Vandermeer. I want to go back and try that again. I want to reread the first book and see if I still love that book. I forget what it's called. I'll have it here again, and then continue on if I like it. The Gargoyle Queen series by Jennifer Estep is getting DNF'd. I loved the first series, but the second series felt too YA to me. Then we have Lock and Key by Joe Hill, also getting a DNF. I don't care to go back to it. I haven't tried to read it in years. Lockwood & Co. by Jonathan Stroud. I've read the first book. I have the second book on my shelf, so I'm going to make this yellow, that if I don't continue the series next year, because I read the first book in 2023, so if I go a whole 2 years without continuing on, I want to give up on it. The Misadventures in Mistletoe by K. Wren Morris. What is that? Am I interested in continuing on in the series? Did I know it was a series when I put it on here? So this has a sequel, but it doesn't sound connected to the first book, so we might give it a shot this winter, but it's not a priority either. This Poison Heart by Kaylin Barron. I want to make this an Aqua priority for next year because I've read the first book. It's a duology. I want to finish it up next year, and I haven't. Teen Titans by Cami Garcia. This is just going to stay on the list. I want to continue on with this series, but it's not like a super big priority. Deal with a Demon by Katie Roberts. If this is her monster romance series, and what I have learned a lot with Katie Roberts so far is that I'm not a big fan of her novellas. I usually like her full-length books, but I haven't gotten along with her novellas very well. So we're gonna make this a yellow, that if I don't continue on next year, or if I don't like the next continuation, I'm not gonna go. Dark Olympus is gonna stay because that's been a fun series. Unwritten Rules by Katie Casey is gonna stay. I only started that this year and I want to continue. Skyland by Kennedy Ryan is staying. I read the second book in this series. I want to go back and reread the first book and then also continue on and finish. I think it'll be a trilogy. Read the third book when it comes out. Friday for Sure is gonna stay. It's not necessarily like one that I am gonna read, but I would like to investigate like older mysteries a little bit because when I read them I seem to enjoy them. So this is gonna stay, but it's also like not a priority. Doomsday by KJ Charles. I finished this. This gets to be marked as completed. Tristan Strong by Kwame Mimbala. I don't know about this one because I enjoyed the first book, but I have not been interested in reading middle grade a lot lately. So I'm going to make this yellow, that if I don't continue on with it next year, I'm going to DNF the duology, even though I really loved that first book. Alex Stern is going to be made a gold 2. Well, no, I only started that this year, so I'm going to give myself a little time. The Diviners by Libba Bray. Okay, we're going to DNF this series. We're going to say it's DNF'd. If I ever go back to it, great, but I'm not going to keep it on as something that I am actually paying attention to and thinking about reading right now. Little Thieves by Margaret Owen is going to get a blue priority for next year. I'd like to reread the first book and read the second one. Monstrous by Marjorie Liu. This is one that I want to continue on, but I never make it a priority. So we're going to make it yellow. Murderbot stays. Hawkeye by Matt Fraction, I think I'm going to say is a DNF because I read so far in that series and then I never went back to it. Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, I think I'm going to say is a DNF. I really didn't enjoy that first book. The Lumaterror Chronicles by Melina Marchetta. It's going to stay because I'd really like to go back and reread those first 2 books and then finish the 3rd book. But it's such a heavy series. I don't think I'm going to do it anytime soon, but I don't want to DNF it either. The Nampishawe series by Monica Blackgoose, in progress, waiting on the author. I'm so excited for this next book, but I don't know when it's coming. The Binti series by Nnedi Okorafor. I'm going to make this yellow. I'm committing myself to a lot next year because I read the first book, I liked it, but I haven't gone back to it. The Victorian Fairies series by Olivia Atwater, I have, that's on hold until I read the Half a Soul series because I tried to read that series and I didn't like the first book very much, but I was also really confused and I feel like if I had more context, I would have liked it more. The Harlot Bay series by Olivia Dade is staying because I just started that this year. The Feminine Pursuits series by Olivia Waite. What is this? Oh, that's staying. I need to continue on with this, but it is staying. The first book is A Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. It's a sapphic historical fiction series, and I loved that first book, so we're going to continue with that. The Dead Djinn Universe by Peter Jolly Clark. That's just, I'm caught up. I'm waiting on the author to see if anything else comes. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. It is somewhere in limbo because I've read the first book now and I liked it, but I didn't love it. And the second book is quite large and I don't know if the 3rd book is ever coming. So it's going to stay in limbo, but it's not a priority and it's also not technically getting DNF'd yet. The Litchford series by Paul Cornell. I enjoyed that first book so much, The Witches of Litchford, but I haven't made that a priority, so it's just going to stay here for now. Lore Olympus, I need to catch up on this series. I haven't read the most recent volumes that have gotten released. Then we have the Sixth World series by Rebecca Roanhorse. I'm hoping to be caught up on this series by the end of the year. The Elements of Cadence series by Rebecca Ross. What is this? Oh, this is A River Enchanted. I read that this year, but I haven't had, and it was middle of the road, right? I think I gave it a 3-star. I'm going to mark that as a DNF. I don't think I'm going to go back to that series. The Aurelian Cycle by Rosaria Munda, I am going to go back to. I loved that first book. I'm going to have to do that soon. Sarah J. Maas's series, I will eventually probably read and catch up on. The Bells series by Sarah McLean. Let's see. What is this? Okay, I'm not sure. I have The Bells and the Hell's Bells series by Sarah McLean listed, and I have it that I'm caught up on both. So we're just going to leave those 2. The Society of Sirens by Scarlett Packham. I want to read that last book. I have 1 more left in that, so I'm going to put a red dot there and put it as a blue for next year that I read, hopefully make progress and read that last book next year. Batman Court of Owls by Scott Snyder is going to stay there. I started that a while ago and I haven't gone back to it, so we'll see if I go back to it. October Day by Shauna McGuire. I'm caught up on. The Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire. I am working on the Encrypted series by Shauna McGuire. I have started and I haven't gone back to recently. I'll have to talk to my buddy that I read that series with to see if we can fit that in. The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. I would really like to be caught up and done with this series by the end of the year. It'll just depend on when my copy comes in, so we'll see. The Witchland series by Susan Dennard, I am going to make blue. I'd like to reread and continue on with that series next year because I still have Witch Shadow on my shelf over here to read. The Sworn Soldier series by T. Kingfisher, I'm also going to make that blue because I really loved that first book and want to continue on. Locked Tomb, I'm going to make blue because I loved the first book, didn't continue on. Jasmine Throne is also going to be blue. I need to reread. Spy Family, I think I'm caught up on. Girl Meets Duke, I'm caught up on, and I'm waiting on Tessa Dare. Tessa Dare, I hope someday you can continue that series. I loved it so much. The Extraordinary Adventures of the Athena Club by Theodora Goss is also going to turn aqua because all of those 5 series that I just mentioned, I want to like reread and continue on next year. I'm committing myself to a lot. Legendborn is also going to be blue as a priority for next year. Daughter of the Pirate King by Tracy Levenseller, I am going to DNF. Cat Plus Gamer, I'm caught up on. Iron Widow, I am caught up on and so excited that the second book is coming out next year. Peculiar Tastes series, I am in the middle of. I've just read the first novella out of 6. The Rules of Scoundrels series by Sarah MacLean. I don't know what this is. All these Sarah MacLean books that I don't know. Oh, this was a Rogue by Any Other Name. I didn't really enjoy that, so I'm gonna say that's a DNF. I have like a 50-50 shot of liking a Sarah MacLean book. The Librarians of Elysium series by Sarah Beth Durst. I'm caught up on. That's the Spell Shop books. I think there's going to be a companion next year. Assistant to the Villain. I read the first book, DNFing that series. Tomes of Tea, which was You Can't Spell Tea Without Treason. I'm going to leave on here, but it's like a 50-50 shot that I'm going to continue it next year. I'm actually going to make that yellow because if I don't continue it next year, I think it means that I don't want to continue. The Brown Sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert, I'm going to make blue as a priority for next year. The Shadow of Leviathan by Robert Jackson Bennett, continue next year when the next book comes out. I don't know when that is. And the Maple Hills series, Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, is going to be a DNF. I don't think I'm going to continue on with that series. I was considering it to see if I, would want to see what the next book looked like, but I don't think I do. All right, after a little bit of math, I have started at 102 series and I am DNFing 18, which means that going into next year, we are going to have 84 series on the go. Out of those 84, I have 15 that are potential DNFs that if I don't make progress in them in 2025, I'm going to say that they are DNF'd. And I have 7 that I have 1 book remaining in the series. Now, there is some overlap between the ones that I have 1 book left in the series and priority reads for next year, which I have marked 15 in that aquamarine color of series that I plan on making a priority next year, whether they are ones that I am gonna reread or make, a priority to continue because I'm excited about that. Out of those 84 ongoing series, I have 21 that I am currently caught up on and am waiting on the author to either publish another book or, like, for instance, the Tessa Dare series, there is another book in the works, but I don't know when it's coming. That means there's 63 active series that I need to catch up on in some way. It's a lot. That's a lot. And I'm probably going to start more series next year, and I'm probably going to start more before this video comes out. But I feel like that's better. We're under 100. And we're even further under 100 of ones that I can actively work on. I'm not feeling as scared about that as I did when I saw that there were 102 series that I needed to read. Anyway, that is everything for me today. If you have any thoughts or feelings or want to share any of the series thoughts that you have or any of the books that I talked about today, please let me know down below. If you know how many active series you have on your TBR, please let me know that number. we can chat about that down below. If you aren't feeling chatty today and you just want to leave me a emoji, please leave me a coffee emoji because I'm going to need a lot of coffee to read these books next year and make progress in this number. But that is it for me today, and I will see you next time. Bye!